Transversospinalis. So first, looking at the term, the transversospinalis, it really gives us where the muscle attaches. So transverso in this case actually is referring to the transverse processes of the spine, and spinalis just means the spinous processes. Because of those attachment points, we see an oblique angle with the transversospinalis. So that's really different from the erector spinae. Remember, the erector spinae, it runs vertically with their fibers, and the transversospinalis runs more at a diagonal. The transversospinalis muscles are actually deep to the erector spinae muscles, so these are hugged right up against the spine. And we use this term, transversospinalis. It is another case where we are grouping multiple muscles into one category. So the transversospinalis is actually a collective group of three muscles known as the semispinalis, the multifidus, and the rotatories. So to be more specific, these muscles can actually be found between the grooves of the transverse and spinous processes of the vertebrae, where each of these groups has an oblique line of pull. So what separates the groups are actually their length. So much like the erector spinae, these muscles, they all overlap on top of each other in the vertebral column, so it's not just one long muscle. So that's why we classify these more based off the length of each one. So with that in mind, the semispinalis, it spans 5 or more vertebrae. The multifidus spans 2 to 4 vertebrae. And then the rotatories spans just 1 vertebrae. So you can imagine, based on their location, that the transversospinalis, because they're right up against the spine, they are a key player when it comes to spinal stability. So looking at that location, we'll take a look at the origin and insertion. So the origin is going to be the transverse processes, and the insertion is going to be the spinous process of the vertebrae above it. So it goes from a transverse process below to a spinous process above. So that's where you get that diagonal look, or that oblique line of pull. Then looking at actions, so we have transversospinalis muscles on each side of our spine. So bilaterally, if they contract, they perform neck and trunk extension. But unilaterally, if they contract, so if only one side contracts, you get neck and trunk rotation to the opposite side of the muscle. So say if the right-sided transversospinalis muscles contract, then you're going to get rotation of the trunk and neck to the left side. So that's an important thing to remember there. As far as innervation, they're innervated by the spinal nerves.